Good evening, and welcome to Law Talk, the show that brings the news, the Constitution, and the events of today to you each month. Tonight, I'm James Barrett, and with Mark Malachowski, we've got 3 new subjects to bring to you to make sure that you have the first-hand knowledge. Mark, what are we talking about tonight?
Well, the first thing we're going to cover is Justin Bieber.
Justin Bieber, this is the phenom singer that seems to be everywhere for the last, 6 years. He's been running the teenage girl show. Is this the Justin Bieber who are you talking about?
Yeah, he's a pop star from Canada, and he seems like he's trying to get some street cred.
When you say street cred, does that mean he's hanging out with thugs and gangsters and rappers?
No, he got arrested for a DUI on January 23rd. They alleged he was drag racing, but I don't think it was going that fast in a Lamborghini. It was more like parking the Lamborghini. He had a .04 BAC, as far as what I can tell. That's not a very high BAC. And I guess he was smoking marijuana.
Okay, but he's not legally drunk, but he may have been impaired, but not necessarily legally drunk.
I don't think he's 21, so I don't think he's 21 yet, so he's got a lower limit.
What's the age? Wasn't that in Florida?
Yeah, it was in Florida.
What's the drinking age in Florida?
I think it's 21.
It's 21.
Yeah.
So listen, he's using alcohol.
Yeah, so
he's smoking marijuana.
He shouldn't have any.
And I also remember he was talking about taking pills as well.
Yeah, maybe he had some prescription drugs. Well, the big thing is he said he admitted, this is what the police say, he admitted he'd been smoking marijuana, drinking beer, and taking prescription medication or medicine. So
wait a minute. When we talk about prescription medication, was that prescription medication that was prescribed to him, or just prescription medication that he decided to take because he wanted to get high?
I don't know. I don't know whether...
That wasn't clear, was it?
I just don't know. But I do know that he talked, which he probably should have talked.
He talked?
He talked a little bit too much, right.
Are you trying to tell me that a brilliant superstar like Justin Bieber would not know his right to keep his mouth shut?
Well, he said some kind of... provocative comments and that kind of thing. You know?
Oh, I mean, I also understood he was got in harassment with the police where he was resisting arrest.
Well, yeah, they claim that too, but that's resisted arrest and driving with an invalid Georgia driver's license.
Invalid Georgia driver's license. But he's not from Georgia. He's from Canada.
Well, I mean, other people weren't from wherever it was, Cincinnati, Ohio, and they had that Social Security number.
Yeah,
so
we don't want to go about that fake Social Security number that belongs to.
Yeah, we don't want to go.
Yeah, we don't want to go there
So
for the person that never came from Connecticut.
Yeah, right.
We don't want to go back and relive that one, but we will relive this. Yeah. But this is right after Justin Bieber had the police raid his home in Cucamonga, California, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure about the raid, but I think there was the egg incident. Anyway, before, and then I don't know if the raid happened before or after the being pulled over, but yeah, there was a problem with an egg problem, and they wanted to look in the refrigerator to see if those eggs matched the broken eggs, and I guess you can't make omelets without breaking some eggs or whatever, but yeah, it was an egg search, and I guess maybe they came up with something else.
Yeah, but this was on the other, this is in California where this happened. And this happened right before the racing, the Lamborghini and the Ferrari.
Right. Well,
and so what happened in the egg incident was somebody mysteriously egged the neighbor's house to Justin Bieber.
It was $20,000 worth of egg damage.
Yeah, with egg damage. And by the way, you know what happens with eggs?
Exactly.
They start coating and baking themselves onto the building, which means you can't just scrape them off. So my understanding was that they went to search the house. They used a SWAT team. They used at least 15, 16 sheriffs that looked for those eggs.
Well, the thing
about it, did they find the eggs?
Now, the problem is, really, what this shows, when you get 15 people on an egg case with SWAT teams and machine guns, it shows that the police really are underfunded, right? And taxes are much too low. I mean, if you got 15 cops, if you could only get 15 cops with machine guns to go after an egg crime, what would happen if somebody threw a spitball? Could you assemble 300 or 500 cops?
But I'd be worried about it.
Yeah, so I mean, really, it just goes to show that the police are understaffed.
But I understand during that egg search that they found one of his roommates, a guy named Little Zah, had cocaine and a big pile of cocaine on the kitchen table.
Yeah, yeah, but there was some kind of paraphernalia or something on the table.
But that wasn't Justin Bieber's.
Yeah, there was some kind of
We
problem.
can't tie that to him, right?
That was some
even though that's his kitchen. Correct.
Yeah.
His house, correct. And little Zod doesn't live there, but he was visiting. and there was narcotics.
Hitchhiking or
So what
something.
happened? Did Justin Bieber get booked for cocaine?
I'm not sure what happened on that one. I think they're going after the eggs. Right?
They're going after the eggs, and they couldn't
Right.
find the eggs, so they forgot about Little Za and the cocaine.
I think maybe they might have brought charges against Little Za or Z or whoever it was, but I wasn't really following that.
Well, did you realize that there's even another event? This is amazing, because first we
But
started
wait,
with,
so there's a steak.
we had the egg
there's
event.
No, there's a set of steak knives. Well, wait, there's more. You know, your own sharpener. No.
Your own sharpener. But anyway, we started with the eggs and the cocaine and the prescription drugs and that all at his house in California. Then we moved to the drunk driving, the racing, the Ferrari, and the Lamborghini,
The prescription drugs were in Miami.
No. Oh, no, no, but he had prescription drugs in California as well.
Oh, I didn't know.
Oh, yes, yeah, he did have those. They found those.
Okay.
But that must have been Little Zaws, right along with that big pile of cocaine that Justin Bieber said, what's that? But anyway, so the question, though, there's a third event. The event was when he was flying in from Canada to watch the Super Bowl. And as he was flying in, it turns out the airline pilot and his co-pilot had to put on their oxygen mask because nobody would stop smoking marijuana in the private Learjet. It was a Gulfstream.
Well, there you go. So, I mean, apparently now were those masks hooked up to the bong, or
no, they weren't hooked up to the bong because the pilots were afraid that they were going to be tested positive for using narcotics.
Way too low.
Yeah, and here's the interesting thing. You're flying internationally. You're going from country to country.
Right.
So, okay, let's start at what customs are supposed to do. So the plane arrives in the airport. They find no marijuana, but the whole plane smells like weed. And the pilots are saying they're gagging because they're getting off their masks. They find no narcotics, but everybody on the plane is obviously stoned, including Justin Bieber's father, which I find that he was there as well. But there's no arrest for that either. What's going on here?
Well,
is this kid out of control or what?
But I think maybe he's trying to get some street cred because none of the things are very much. The Lamborghini wasn't going that fast. The BAC wasn't that high. Pot. Well, the president smokes pot and said it's okay. It's safer than alcohol. So that's.
But he said he didn't want his daughter smoking weed.
Well,
the president said he didn't want his daughter smoking weed.
Well.
So his daughters aren't going to be smoking.
Okay.
At least while they're at the White House with him and Michelle.
Right. Okay. But I'm just saying. So really, I mean, if you look at all the stuff he did, and then I think he got in one other thing of trouble. Oh yeah, he's hitting a chauffeur in the back of the head.
Oh, that's right. You mean where he spit in the chauffeur's face?
Oh, it's something like that.
And they're bringing an assault charge against him for the spitting.
Yeah, there was some.
Oh, we forgot about that one.
It was some kind of chauffeur harassment or something.
Well,
like
I have a question. Should this person be in the United States?
Well, I think they should run for president. I think he's caliber.
Oh, is he presidential material?
Yeah, I think he's presidential material. Yeah.
Is he part of the Tomb Gang?
Yeah. So he'll be fine.
Oh, okay.
No, I mean I think that most of the things he did are pretty light, and he's probably just doing it to kind of get rid of his little kid image and be a little more street kid and kind of get to a different demo, as they say, or demographic.
A different demographic. Well,
Yeah,
I'm going to tell you, I think
it's-
you're probably right on that because he needs to move up a demographic because his voice is already burned out from his little days of whining to little girls.
Yeah,
now
so I think he's got to
be a little deeper to older people.
Most of these things, the drag racing and a Lamborghini, I don't know how fast he's going, but he wasn't going very fast.
Well, they had it on video, and they said that on the video it looked like he was doing 25, but the problem was they said, well, it was off video. He was doing like 100 down a side street.
Well, that's pretty fast. And I thought it was a lot lower than that. But.
Well, 100's 100. But anyway, let's move on from Justin because I think Justin's going to have his own problems as we look forward. What's our second subject tonight, Mark?
Well, this is Constitutional Corner, and it's about the First Amendment right to vote and the right to redress the government for grievances and kind of old-fashioned stuff that they did a couple hundred years ago that doesn't really apply anymore.
Whoa. You're trying to tell me the Constitution doesn't apply anymore?
Well, that was written by a bunch of old white guys. And some
Oh,
Some of them had slaves, or it's a kind of a racist old white guy.
Oh, the old guy racist argument.
Yeah, so it's an old racist, old-fashioned. That doesn't really matter much.
Yeah, but
anymore.
I don't understand. What does that mean to the application of the Constitution? We base our nation on law.
Well,
the ultimate law is the Constitution.
Used to, but not anymore. They've taken care of that. They have a new thing. It's called the IRS, and the IRS now is kind of in charge of elections and in charge of everything. And they kind of decide who votes and who doesn't vote. And so you've got like about half the country thinks that the IRS conspired with Obama to rig the 2012 elections.
Well, why would they even believe that?
Well, it's basically it's a phony scandal. Apparently, there's not a smidgen of evidence. And according to Lois Lerner, well, we really don't know. Because
well, wait a minute. Lois Lerner took the fifth.
Well, yeah, but she just took the fifth. That's another one of those crazy constitutional things.
Oh, that's by accident.
Yeah,
She took the fifth.
she took the fifth.
Okay.
But,
wait a minute. She can take the fifth, but the rest of us can't rely on the Constitution. Is that where we're going with this one?
Okay. So anyway, what the IRS did is that they took anyone who opposed. They started about 2010 and 2011.
Oh, you mean right after the Tea Party was so effective at electing Republicans for the House of Representatives and the Senate?
Well, we don't really call them Republicans. What the president has called them, most recently he called them kidnappers.
Kidnappers?
Well, yeah, they kidnapped the government.
Who they kidnap?
They kidnapped the government.
How?
Because they didn't want to fund Obamacare, so that was kidnapping.
Oh, well, wait a minute. That's funny because Obamacare was passed in 2008, at the end of 2008, right after he became president, when he had both the Democratic Senate and the Democratic House, and he had 2 years to do whatever he felt like, and he did. So they passed Obamacare. Now, how could the Republicans do anything to change that?
Well, they had a thing where they wanted to defund part of it or delay it, and he said, well, these people...
Well, wait a minute. Who wanted to delay it?
It was Tea Partiers, or these people, but basically kidnappers.
The kidnappers.
The kidnappers. And so
but I understand that the Obamacare is failing, so it's more the Democrats that are trying to kidnap it.
Well, no, now the Obama itself is delaying. But at that point, they said, okay, you guys, if you try to delay Obamacare, we're going to shut down the government and not give people their Social Security tests, and you guys are kidnappers, and you know what the penalty for kidnapping is?
No, I don't.
Well, it's life imprisonment or the death penalty. So...
Are you trying to tell me that the whole legislative branch of the government is going to be locked up in life in prison because allegedly we're going to defund Obamacare?
Well, I'm just saying that, when you have the head of the central government denouncing you as something that's, a kidnapper, that's pretty serious. And so what happened was they decided that the best way to make sure the central government ran smoothly was to prevent these kind of non-conformists, these terrible people. There was like Romney donors, there was conservative groups, religious groups, gun rights groups, Tea Party groups, and what they had the 501c4.
501c4s.
And
that's
so there was
right.
like a bunch of these that they investigated really closely and asked them, personal details, who's your donors and everything. And then what they did is they took that information. And they've just, in last Thanksgiving, just in last November, then they developed new rules based on this information to exclude them from the campaign
That's
process.
wholly unconstitutional.
Look, the thing is, not anymore, because there's not
Not
really
anymore.
Yeah, there's not really. See, in that 2012 election, what they did is they excluded about 10 to 30% of the electorate, about 10 or 20 million people or 30 million people from the electorate. Wanted by about 4%. So a lot of people are saying, well, geez, the rigging of the election resulted in 10 to 30 million people not really beginning to be involved.
The opportunity to
vote or be involved in the political process. You only won by like that 4%, about 4, whatever it was. And so they're saying, well, that election was rigged. And so in response, they said, okay, that was a terrible thing. We're going to get to the bottom of this. But then when they got to the bottom of it, they found well, it's too confusing really to figure out. So we're probably just going to do what we did before, but more pervasively now.
But now we're going to just make new law that says these 501c4s are just not going to exist.
No, we don't make laws anymore. There's no more laws because there's no more
Constitution. What do you mean there's no more laws?
We don't do laws anymore because that's like a silly old constitutional thing.
Is that all part of the old white men?
Yeah, it's
the old white men thing.
Old white men.
We can't have law.
Now they have rules.
They have rules.
And orders. And executive orders and fiat.
Oh, I see.
It's not like you have like the legislative branch passes something and the president signs it. The Congress is not really involved in this
isn't this like when Marie Antoinette says off with their heads because let them eat cake? I'm a little missing here where this government is going. Where is this government going, Mark?
Well, So anyway, what happened just recently is that they had the Justice Department prosecutor, Barbara Bossman. She contributed about, $6,750 to 2012 Obama campaign, and she was put in charge of investigating whether the IRS had rigged or conspired with Obama to rig the election.
Well, wait a minute, that's a conflict of interest.
Not legally, no.
No, not legally.
No, the holder has he can make that appointment.
You know, the Attorney General's office has about, at their fingertips, 17,000 attorneys they can choose from. Why'd they pick Bossman?
Well, they probably thought she was the best qualified. And then what she did...
the best qualified to rig the investigation.
And so what she did is she went in there and talked to the IRS people, and they said, well, nothing happened. And so she came to the conclusion that nothing happened. And
but wait a minute, did she talk to the people at the 501c4s? Did she talk to any of them?
Those people are like hooligans and kidnappers and miscreants.
Oh, but she would never talk to them.
So, yeah, there was no point in talking to them.
In fact, from what I understand from the investigation, there was absolutely no one talked to that were part of the targeting of the IRS. Absolutely not one person was talked to.
I would say the alleged victims were not the kind of people that the new government talks to.
The new government?
Yeah, the central government doesn't
the central government.
The central government doesn't worry about that kind of stuff anymore. So
should we be looking behind this curtain to see if the central government's right here, Mark? Or what are we talking about here?
But the beautiful thing is that, and so for all this thing that's worked out so well for the IRS, how they got involved and rigging the election and going against political opponents of Obama, they got a $62 million in bonuses.
Who did? The IRS?
Yeah. And
also, these are the bonuses that were taken away by Woelfel, the guy that took over for Lerner.
No.
He took away those bonuses.
No, you got the $16 million. And also, guess what Lerner got? Lois Lerner, the one who took the fifth.
Yeah.
He was in charge of the whole...
What did she get?
She got $42,000 bonus.
Well, that's great, but she never gave up, she never gave up her email account, any of her emails that had anything to do with this. You know that, number one. Number two, she never testified under anything other than the Fifth Amendment. And in
she
fact,
testified a little bit, yeah.
And in fact, right now, she should be granted immunity under penalty of perjury.
No, they should do it. But the other thing, that would take Holder to do a special prosecutor.
Holder?
Which is probably not going to
happen. Yeah, well, the only thing Holder wants to do is make sure everyone gets out of Gitmo because his ex-law firm represents them all.
But the thing about it, the president's half-brother had a 501c4.
I understood it was cleared in 30 days.
No problem. That one.
On that happy note, let's let Barack's half-brother go with a 501c4. What's our last subject for tonight?
Okay, so this is welfare checks.
Welfare. Are we talking about the I don't have any money, I don't have a job, but I want a free ride? I want a free ride.
No. The welfare checks in this case.
Is that what are you talking about?
Are the police powers that have to do with the Fourth Amendment.
Okay, you're talking about unlawful search and seizure.
We're talking about warrantless searches.
Warrantless searches.
An exception to the warrant.
Well, you know that I actually have a long list of welfare checks that follow the line, and you realize there's a long sequence of why you can do warrantless searches.
Well,
what's all that about, Mark?
With People versus Ray, what they found, Supreme Court found that, or the Cal Fourth found that, if the police think someone's in need of aid, and so this is kind of how the law came about. Now you have exigent circumstances where there's a shooting or something going on,
Well, exigent circumstances means that it gives you a probable cause to make a search because there's a fast-moving event,
felony in
progress, and you have to get right to it.
Or you're in pursuit of a
fleeing felon.
Or something like that. But this is a little bit different. This was kind of sold like so many things are, is like, oh, the humanists, we're being nice to you, we're here to help. It was, what did Reagan say? What's the most scary thing you ever heard? Is like, we're from the government, we're here to help.
Yeah, we're from the government, we're here to help. I remember that speech.
So the thing about what they're doing here is like, let's say you're a little kid and you've been kidnapped, right?
Yes.
So someone hears someone crying in a house, well, that's the kidnapped kid, you can go in. Let's say someone's had a heart attack and can't reach their pills, the police will come in and save them. So these are the kind of things where this welfare check is like the police aren't acting as police. They happen to have guns and badges and cameras and collect evidence, but in this case, they're just being your friend.
Okay, wait a minute.
So if they think
wait a minute. On my table at home, I'm sitting there and I have anything that's illegal. Doesn't matter what it is. The police say because I didn't answer my phone that they can break into my house and see why I didn't answer my phone.
Let's say that you parked in front of your neighbor's house for a couple days, and he's mad at you parking in front of his house. He can call the cops and go, "Oh, I think Jim's in trouble."
Why would he call the cops saying that?
Because he's mad that you parked in his driveway.
Because I'm mad I'm parked next to his driveway?
Something like, whatever reason. And since, oh my gosh, we have a report that Jim's in trouble, they can take a battering ram, bash down your door, come in, search and seize whatever they want, because they're there to help.
Yeah, but what happens if they find something there that they're not looking for?
Well, they stumble upon something after they interrogate you and you confess, and maybe they, help you confess.
But what happens if I have my AK-47 up against the wall, fully loaded, ready to go?
Well, then they would just stumble upon that accidentally. Or let's say you had something in the safe that they accidentally made you open.
What do you mean in the safe? Why would they be looking at my safe if they see if I'm okay or not?
They accidentally encouraged you to open it.
Oh, they accidentally encouraged me to open my safe, and what they found in there was something that was illegal.
Yeah, so they don't need a warrant anymore.
Whoa. Wait a minute. I'm going to ask this question because I didn't know this law went this far. A welfare check says I'm checking to see if you're okay.
Well, the resident...
But how far does this go? Does this go to arm's length, or is this anything in the house can be searched?
Well, it says when police are checking for victims in a residence upon reasonable belief that someone inside the residence is in need of aid.
Yeah.
Or upon that there was an imminent threat of life or welfare to someone inside. Well, life or welfare? What's welfare? It's welfare is like you didn't get enough sleep, you maybe have a cold. I mean, it's pretty broad law.
Yeah, but what if I'm just asleep on the couch?
Well, I'm just saying these things, this is a big runaround. I mean, a big way of
wait a minute, which court was this that made this ruling? And is this
21 Cal 4th, 464, Superior Court, 4 Cal 3rd, 919, People versus Ammons, 1980, 103rd, Cal App 3rd.
Wow.
So these are high up things, and basically what they're saying, now they're saying there should be probable cause or reasonable belief.
Right.
To go ahead, but the thing is, people are coming in with battering rams, okay? I have a case right now, 8 cops with battering rams, dogs, guns drawn, because the people are saying, we're fine, we don't need any help. No, thank you. They're going, we've got to come in, we've got to come in. No, thanks, don't come in. And then when they open the door, they battering ram, they come in, beat the people up, take them out, handcuff them.
Wait, why are they coming in with battering rams to see if you're okay? Well, what if I'm just sick? What if I'm laying on the couch and I have a bad hangover and I'm just asleep?
Well, the thing is, everyone was okay before the police came, but after they weren't. So.
Oh my God, I don't think I'm going to be too okay after that. I don't know how this is going, Mark. I am really concerned. Now, are they trying to... Is this going to be part of the new exigent circumstances?
No, it's not. It's actually an offshoot. Goes down a different path of exigent circumstances.
But how does it get away from the Fourth Amendment that I can't? Why is my house getting searched?
Because you're in need of aid. They're coming.
I'm in need of aid. Nobody has any knowledge that I'm in need of aid. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
But if the neighbor called and said, "Oh, you're in trouble," now they have.
How do they know if I'm in trouble?
They heard that on their dispatch. What? They heard that you needed help in their dispatch.
And so the firemen are going to kick the door open.
No,
they're going to come in with the cops. They're going to come in with the cops and the dogs and the guns blazing.
Right.
And Jim's laying there eating guacamole and chips. And next thing you know, I'm in trouble.
They knock on the door and they say, "We're doing a welfare." You open the window, say, "Everyone's fine. Please go away." That's not good enough. No, we want to come in. We have to make sure you're okay.
What do you mean? Okay, I'm the guy you're doing the welfare check.
Exactly.
I'm fine.
And he's fine.
He wants some guacamole.
Right? And so they'll bash the door in to make sure you're okay.
But what if I don't want my door bashed in?
Well, that's the problem.
And who pays for my door being bashed in anyway? I want to know that.
Well, not only that, you're probably going to get a resisting arrest and assaulting a police officer on top of it just for being in the house.
Yeah, but what happens if the dog eats my cat's food and gets sick?
I had that happen. No. The dog jumps up on you trying to eat your face off. If you put your hands up to guard yourself, that's assault on the police dog.
Actually, I do have a dog case.
That's attack on the officer. That's attack on the police dog.
Well, actually, attack on a police dog is assaulting a police dog. There is a crime for that.
But I mean, if you're defending yourself, they could charge you with that. They'll probably charge you with assault to the cop.
Mark, this is a long reach from the Fourth Amendment.
I've got the case right now. I got one of these right now.
You've got one of these right now?
Right now, I've got one of these. Right.
What did they find in the house after they bashed the door open?
Absolutely nothing.
Then why was the person, were they arrested?
Oh, yeah, they got charged with like assaulting a police officer, resisting arrest, the whole thing, handcuffed, thrown down on the stairs on their back after they're handcuffed. 6 weeks pregnant women just beaten, thrown from side to side, set the dogs on her, guns drawn, tasers, you name it.
What was the welfare check for?
Nothing. There was nothing. There was nothing wrong.
So what? Wait a minute. There must have been something
The
wrong.
neighbors called and said, well, there's some noise in the neighborhood.
Noise in the neighborhood.
Noise in the neighborhood.
Oh, Mark, I have enough problems seeing what's happening with the Constitution as it is, but not to see it brought to this level. This is like day-to-day. You and I, we go home tonight, and we could have somebody kicking our door open.
Yeah, I mean,
and I got my 9-year-old crying, going, Daddy, why are they here? And the cop's going, I'm here to help you. Now get out of the way before my dog chews your face off.
Well, the thing is,
It's a little scary, Mark.
this is a very prevalent thing. You start seeing this welfare check, complete pretext, complete, end run around the Fourth Amendment, completely unconstitutional. And also, if you start looking like I did some pitches motion. I look in the backgrounds of these officers, and some of them have done the same. I've interviewed some witnesses, and they've had the same. Beating and whatever, police brutality with the same officers. So, but this is an excuse to come into your home. Your home is no longer your castle under the welfare check. Though that old-fashioned Fourth Amendment thing is gone now. They're like come into your house, battering rams and all, and then you get charged.
Yeah, but Mark, I mean, we've been doing this show for a long time, and this is actually some of the scariest stuff because it can affect
it's incredible.
every person that watches this show can have their life ruined like this.
Right.
This is what's scary.
They found, and then when they went into this house, they found absolutely nothing.
They found nothing.
Nothing.
They found nothing.
Nothing. Not a
and
thing.
they still arrested them.
Not only that, there's still charges, and they went to the pretrial conference. They still don't want to settle. They're still, because they can't. Now that they've stuck their foot in it, right? Now that they let the dogs loose, beat up everybody, they got to come up with these phony charges that, oh, you hit a cop, one pregnant lady, 4'9" lady has fought 8 cops with guns drawn. Oh, she
Oh, yeah, I'm
attacked them.
sure she did.
And then you tried to brace the door after you unlatched it. You unlatched the door, and then you tried to brace against it.
And then you're trying to brace it against 8 cops,
Eight
fully
cops.
armed, trying to break their way in.
With the dogs.
And with the dogs.
And the dogs.
And the dogs.
Guns drawn.
Guns drawn.
Yeah.
That's a little too much, Mark.
But
I don't know how I read this and I'm purely shocked that any Supreme Court would ever go over this. I know they've gone through the long list of what are circumstances, but it makes no sense that you step to this level without the Constitution being totally violated.
I mean, this kind of thing is the premise of the law was like, oh, if someone's having a heart attack, the police can go in.
Right.
If somebody's kidnapped, people can go in.
Right.
But now it's just used as willy-nilly. We can't get a warrant. We got no reason to enter, and then we just barge in.
I think that's going to be about it for tonight, Mark. But I'm going to tell you, as I look out in the studio audience, and I thank you for watching our show tonight. I want everyone to understand something. Your constitutional rights are being violated every day, and unless we stand for our rights will no longer exist. Thanks, Mark. It's been a great show.
All right.